do that all the time.
So I ask you some questions. So tell me about how you play. Tell me about you and your dad playing video games.
It's great. I love it. It's bonding time. Blah, blah, blah things. You really want me to say anything right now?
Yeah.
Oh,
actually, because I'm probably use it for.
Oh.
So do you and your family play video games together as?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes we play team games or they watch me play. I like to play Gauntlet with them, which is a GameCube game. It's older, but it's still fun. And we get frustrated, yet we love it at the same time. I'm bad at this.
Is playing video games one of the most fun things, most cherished memories of you and your family?
I would think so. Yeah, that and watching movies.
Can you think of do you have a memory? Do you have a memory that you can that's or give me the most memorable moment you have playing video games with your family?
One time, okay, I would say this. We had a Halo tournament with my mom, my dad, my aunt and uncle, my cousins, Peter and Luke. We were clobbered by my cousins, but it was still a lot of fun. And we would do like, I think 2 or 4 at a time, I don't remember. But even though we were really bad, it was still a lot of fun. We probably did it for a few hours. And of course, Peter and Luke won because they're that good and they play all the time. But it was fun. I liked it.
Will you play video games with your own kids as bonding time?
Most likely, yes. And if they don't like video games, I will be very surprised.
One of the things you mentioned earlier was sometimes you and your family like to play together and sometimes just watch each other. Mm-hmm. Explain that.
Well, this is one game that my dad and I have been playing lately, and it's Red Dead Online. And we can't play with each other since he has it on the computer and I have it on the Xbox. And it's not cross-platform. But sometimes as I play, he'll watch me, and as he plays, I'll watch him. And we can help each other out and stuff with missions or daily challenges, and sometimes I'll even have him play my game just so I don't lose my daily challenge streak and other way around. Yes, that.
Would you say that for your family, playing video games has been a great way to strengthen your relationships?
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely good bonding time. I know I said that earlier, but that's the best way to describe it. We have fun with each other.
That's great. You have any advice for any families that don't play video games together?
Just do play video games together. I don't know.
What about a parent that doesn't really play video games, but their kids do? You have any advice for how they could make that work?
I would think. I feel like I'm in the office right now.
You are in the office right now. Do you want to do a video about us watching The Office?
Yeah. Well, I mean, even if it's like every once in a while, you maybe play a game that they like. Even if it's like, or just maybe find a compromise between a game that you find easy and that they still enjoy playing. Like maybe Mario Kart for like a cup. That can be really good, especially if the kids bonding. The kids' love language is quality time, which is mine. That's why it helps me a lot. And even doing it with my friends is fun. More fun when they're in the room, not online.
Explain real quick, briefly, what the love language means. When you said your love language.
How do you explain love language? Like, what? That's not a good analogy either.
Well, what are love languages? And give me some examples of them.
Well, I mean, like quality time is, for me, what makes me happy is being around my friends, my family, and we don't even have to talk sometimes. We just hang out.
So, Gabe, tell us about how video games, like, how do you play video games with your family? Do you guys bond together playing video games?
Yes, we do. We used to, until we get it set back up, we usually play, like, Mario Party on the Wii as a family. Like, we do that a lot on family nights and stuff. And, like, me and Josiah, we play, like, online games together. Me and my cousin play a lot of online games together, like, all the time. And, yeah, I use it a lot to play with friends that live in different states and stuff, so I play a lot of video games.
So would you say it's a great way to for families that family members that live far apart, you can still have a good relationship with them through video games, even over the internet?
Me and my cousin, I said a second ago, me and my cousin, he lives in Florida, and you know, since me and my family move around a lot, you know, playing online games just like Minecraft, like Fortnite, Call of Duty, just all kinds of stuff. We can just play together, just to have fun, you know, and bond, even though we're not even in the same state at all. So,
your relationship with your parents, would you say that do you play a lot of video games with your dad and your mom, or just your dad?
My mom does not play video games that often. If she did, it's like Mario or something.
Right. But she'll jump in on occasion.
Sometimes, not a lot.
Yeah.
But me and my dad, I first started playing video games was Call of Duty, and me and him would like play. Me and him on a team versus like a full another team of fake players because we didn't have it online all the time. But I started playing with my dad. That's when I first started playing.
Would you say that playing video games has been one area that's helped your relationship with your dad, you bonding with your dad?
I would say so. It's a lot of like teamwork, team building exercise, kind of, I guess. Just having fun with your family is also just another way to bond with them.
How about a memory of you and playing with your family? Do you have any? Any good ones?
The very first video game memory was I was playing Call of Duty for the very first time. Like my very first like actual like bigger game, not just like something on the DS or something. So we're playing Call of Duty. He was teaching me how to play, and we were playing on the PlayStation, and you know, I was like, I didn't know what any of the controls did. So he's like, okay, this back left trigger, it's for the shoot. And I was like, okay. So I walk up to the wall, like, okay, I'm gonna test out these buttons real quick, and it ends up just throwing like a grenade instead and kills me. So yeah, it just ended up killing myself. But you know, learning how to play a game, you know, through trial and error with my dad, just, you know, it's kind of a first time experience learning, you know, how to play, you know, fight against people, and just, you know, just having fun with, you know, my dad.
That's great. How about once you're married and you have kids? Do you think this will be something that you'll do with your kids?
I hope so. Definitely. I would love to be able to play games with my kids whenever I'm an adult. That would be awesome.
Do you have any advice for parents who don't really play video games, but their kids are really into it? Is there any advice for them on how they could bond with their kids?
Depending on what game, but I would say mostly in any game, really. I would guess is just trying to have them teach you how to play, you know, and just learning, you know, trying to learn what they like to do for fun. You know, it'd be like if I were playing a game by myself, and my mom was like, oh, I want to try this, and like, you know, teach you how to play. You know, we kind of play together sometimes. You know, that's just really cool to do.
My cousins are really, really good when they play video games, and so they tend to just kill everybody really fast.
That would be.
So they're not good. That would be good advice for them to get. Although they do play with their parents, but yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. Right, I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Okay, so do you like video games?
Yep.
What's your favorite video game?
Fortnite.
Fortnite? Okay. That's a multiplayer game, right?
It's online multiplayer.
Do you ever play with anybody that you know that game?
It's been a while. Gabe hasn't been on in a long time. I tried getting him on today, but my dad was on the PlayStation today.
Do you and your brother and your dad, do you guys play video games together?
Occasionally.
Have you in the past played more often, or is that something?
In the past, we used to play Mario Party 8 a lot together.
Okay, so this is, you're older, you're in college now, so I can't imagine you play as much, but would you say that was an important part of your youth growing up?
It was a lot of fun, I'll say that much.
Would you say that playing video games with your dad and with your brother has improved or helped your relationship? You know, did you bond
I think so, yeah.
through that? Do you have any special memories playing video games with your family members?
Not really.
No? So the game that you guys used to play Super Mario quite a bit. Did you play with your sister?
Mario Party.
Oh, Mario Party. It's
I suppose it depended on whether or not, we would try to have include. Actually, yeah, we did. Mom and Dad would have like the share a remote so that she could play because it was a 4-player game.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Did your mom play with you as well?
Yeah.
So the 4 of you would play, but she was probably a lot younger then, so getting her in there was a little bit more difficult.
And before we actually let her start playing games, whenever we'd like play Mario Party, we give her like a remote that was like that I think we took the batteries out of, so she actually felt like she was participating.
That's great because I think we did that with our daughter too. They feel like that they're actually playing. That's really awesome. Do you have any advice for parents who whose kids play a lot of video games but they themselves don't? Do you have any advice for them to kind of how to get started in that, to bond with their kids?
Pretty much force them to play that game.
That's great. Hey, I appreciate that. You got anything else you want to say?
No, that's it.
All right. Awesome. Tell me about how video games has helped with bonding with your family.
So for us, we have a tendency to sometimes spend time with video games. To instead of like sometimes we'll play board games and things like that, but we'll play board games on like Mario Party or something like that, or Mario Kart, something that has a little bit of competition to it. That kind of helps us to iron each other through that competition and some fun things. But also, one bonus was when I was overseas, I was able to continue a good relationship with my dad while I was on like an online type game. And we would be able to play together and talk to each other over the headset and things like that. So that was really cool. That was definitely unique. So we were able to maintain that type of thing while I was in Japan and he was there in the States. So, and then as a family, we just are able to just build community within our family using all those online types of games and things like that.
That's great. Do you have any special memories with you and your sons or your family playing video games, especially when they were just growing up?
Yeah, well, a lot of it is kind of around the Mario Party game. That's one that we played even when my kids were so young that they didn't even know what to do. Like I remember Gabe was so young that he didn't really know how to play, so we turned on the computer player, and so he thought he was playing, but it was really the computer that was playing, and so we're just sitting there playing. He thinks he's doing a really good job and whatnot. So that's a big memory because it was just him growing and seeing the game, but really not understanding how it worked. And then he grew into it, and he's actually probably one of the better players in our family for games now.
That's great. Have you found playing video games with the family has been a good balance between other activities?
Oh, absolutely. As long as there's moderation in it, that's probably the most important part. That's the most important part in all things, is having moderation. There is always a danger that if you're over moderating that, then it can become an addiction, and then it can be a dangerous thing and have negative consequences to that. But as long as you have moderation with it and use it for the part of growth and relationship building, then it definitely does have positive aspects to it.
Being that video games are such an integral part of society today, especially for this generation, but even for our generation growing up, we had a lot of video games. But the parents, for me growing up, I didn't play with my parents at all, very rarely. Would you say that today, I don't know if I can remember exactly what I was thinking, that so would you have any advice for parents that, I should say this, this is what I was going to say. So would you say that by being involved with your kids and with video games, that's deterred some of the horror stories of kids that just kind of like totally isolated themselves and become very antisocial and unable just to kind of, be a part of normal society?
I would say it's just a part of being social, just like you said. There is definitely the opportunity for them to just kind of seclude themselves away, but being a part of that helps them find that community, even within the family, and it's just another way of teaching them. Teaching them just like you would out in society. You would take them places. You would take them to the gym. You would take them to the park or something like that. In the same manner, you take them into this virtual community, and you do that with them, alongside them, and you help them understand how to build relationship within that virtual community. It's definitely different than even when I was growing up. My parents never played games either, so kind of experimenting with that and learning what this virtual community is like, learning that with them is definitely a help, and I think it will help them in the future as well, teaching their children.
Yes, because growing up, I grew up in the 80s with video games, late 70s and 80s. We didn't have the internet for video games.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you played with your friends. And that was a new concept for me during the 90s. So watching that come into, I didn't think it was ever going to be fun. So that is a big factor. I think that's kind of more your generation, right? When you guys were running more multiplayer online games.
Yep. Yeah, we played, like, in my high school time is whenever things like Final Fantasy Online came out, and then the big one was World of Warcraft. That's the one that me and my dad played, and actually my in-laws. We played that whenever I was in Portugal. That's when I started in the early 2000s, and then late 2000s, early 2010s was more the World of Warcraft type era that I was in, and I played that with my dad a lot while I was in Japan, overseas in the military. And it was just a good way for us to stay in contact and keep that relationship, in addition to talking on the phone and things like that. But it actually gave us a community to work with amongst each other. So.
Yeah, and that's really interesting to me to hear about that, because I've only recently started doing that, because I always thought it was one of the reasons what I liked about video games is that I liked being isolated. I liked not interacting with humans, and then when they were like bragging about it, I thought, why would I want to do that? But it is actually fun. One last thing, the latest trend is the VR technology. Mm-hmm. So what do you think about that?
It's actually something that I really want to get more into. I haven't done a lot with VR other than some trainings with the military for counseling things. But just the way that it's developed, that even we used it for that training, will work well with anything from video games to even just watching movies, because it's like you can be together without being together. And then just actually being kind of inside that virtual world. I think it just kind of takes it a step further in what can be a positive way, but again, moderation. It can also be a bad thing if all you do is spend time in there, especially if you're isolated away from relationships. It can take people farther away from society, but it can absolutely be a good thing as long as it's done correctly and you teach it well to your children. I can definitely see, like whenever I deploy or something like that, being able to maybe watch a movie with my family, even though I'm in like Afghanistan or Iraq or something like that, or whatever the future war might be, and them being back home and us being able to sit down and kind of watch a movie together, even whenever we're not actually together. I think that's going to be kind of neat. And then playing games, doing those types of things together inside this virtual world, I think has a great potential.
And I have one last question. As a chaplain in the U.S. Air Force, and you say you had a family member or an airman sit with you and want to talk about how he's feels like he's not bonding with his kids who are really into video games, but they don't play video games themselves. What advice would you give to such a person?
Well, I would say that that's one of those things where you want to know the types of things that your children are getting into. You want to not feel like you're playing catch up all the time whenever it comes to technology. That's everything from cell phones to video games to computer technology. You want to be at least familiar enough with the things they're doing for several reasons. One, to make sure they're not abusing it. and 2, just to make sure that they're in a safe environment, because it's our job as parents to protect our children. So we have to understand the type of technology that they're using. So that is definitely something that, even if it's not something that you're possibly interested in, is just being knowledgeable about it regardless.
Great. And this last question, you could actually look at the camera to answer it. What is your absolute favorite video game?
No Man's Sky. No questions.
All right. Thanks. Appreciate it.